Okay, I trust everyone can see my Linktivity screen. Someone give me a sound check.
Yes, they can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. So here is the homepage of like the inside homepage of Linktivity. Now, just to give you some context, when I was down at the mini conference a couple of weeks back in Scottsdale, obviously we had Haley and we had Lindsay and we had Will and a few other people from the UK region, and they certainly were right to bring up the issue of GDPR. For those that are unfamiliar with GDPR, it's the General Data Protection Regulation that was introduced in May of 2018. And basically, a lot of people mistook it to be like an e-marketing thing, like kind of an enhanced e-marketing security. It's really all about privacy. So what I sat down with Fajar to work out what can be done to protect people's privacy so that they can be compliant in different regions across Europe, because our servers are located on Microsoft Azure servers in Canada. So there's not anything we can do about the data residency because they're staying here, but we can certainly understand that people either with data residing within Europe or wherever are going to want to make sure that their customers' privacy is protected, and more importantly, that they have taken steps to protect their privacy, because the GDPR basically gives people the right to say, hey, I may have offered you my data, but I want to take it off your servers. So we had to build support for that. In Canada, we have a slightly similar, in some ways it's more intrusive, rules called PIPEDA. Okay, and what I've done is I've written this blog under the keystroke. It's under the Linktivity website as well. The difference is we've got a little graphic here, but basically kind of going through the general rules of GDPR and PIPEDA, and what are some of the customers' rights and what we have done to protect them. So I'm not going to read this, you guys can reference this, but I want to show you what has been done, because all of this is in protection, or is in production, I should say. So let's go to Linktivity. Let's go here. Let's go to Workspaces. And we're going to go to, in this case, this is our production one on keystroke. Now, under the workspace settings, you just scroll to the very bottom. Okay, this is the new section. You've got two ways of purging the data. One is on demand, and the other one is to set up a scheduled purge. So let's take a look at here. We click on Purge Personal Information. Okay, first thing we highlight in red. All these actions are permanent and irreversible. I want to be super clear as to what is going to be purged and what is not going to be purged. If you are distributing surveys, or people are filling out forms, or you're delivering quotes and things like that, all the statistical information, all of the information that they have provided, like if someone was filling out an AMA server, all of their answers, okay, are yours. Okay, as long as there is not a direct connection between that data and the person that can be identified. Okay, so all the statistical data, all the answers will be kept, but the personalized data, okay, the names, addresses, IP addresses, email addresses, things like that will get purged. So what we've done is here in the workspace, we've got the option to select individual products, link to calendar, link to events, link to forms, link to quotes, link to surveys, or we can select all products. I'm going to select all products because you guys can see the what is included and what is excluded. So in this case, the following information will be either removed or redacted. Contact details submitted by visitors, including name, email, phone number, etc. This applies to link to calendar, link to events, link to forms, link to quotes, link to surveys. Participant and representatives' names are redacted in appointment book. So obviously, if I've had a meeting with Jill Gibson, I can't redact that, I can't remove that information because that is an actual appointment. So that information is redacted, okay? In cases where linked to quotes, again, same kind of thing, the personal information is redacted. But all of the sales reporting and pipeline reporting, that will remain in force, okay? Logged IP addresses in submissions and activity logs, linked to calendar, linked to events, linked to forms, linked to quotes, linked to surveys, all of them will apply, okay? Please also note the following important points. Contacts whose submissions data are being purged will be opted out of subsequent drip campaigns. So we have the option with several of the products like forms and surveys, where if they complete something, okay, we can enroll them in a drip campaign. That could be 1 email, it could be 5 emails, it could be whatever. It's a totally customized setup, and it could be spread over a period of time. So be mindful that if that period of time is beyond the purge range, okay, then those people will automatically be unenrolled from that drip campaign, okay? Aggregate data and non-personally identifiable data will not be deleted, okay? Link to calendar, so like I said, things like sales data, things like, you know, the results, either statistical or specific answers to a form or survey will remain. Okay, and like I said, questions, answers will not be removed from submissions. They belong to us. We've crafted the questions, they've provided the answers, but you know, it's going into our data harvesting. As long as we depersonalize the source of that data, it belongs to us. Purged personal information in quote data may be restored when quotes are synchronized from ACT. This is something that we've set up from the very beginning and we're not going to remove. So people need to be mindful of that, that if you do go in and edit like a batch amount of quotes, and let me just show you what I mean by that. Okay, so let's say I click on like the quotes and I select here and I click on batch edit. If I just click on OK, that's going to force a sync of all that data. Okay, so if I have cleared the data, and some of these quotes are beyond the purge range, if I've cleared that data, then that information is going to come back. Okay, now it's very unlikely that we're going to have information in a current pipeline that's going to be within the purge range, but I just wanted to kind of cover that. Okay, now let's go back. Okay, so we've got the ability to select all of that. I said all products. Okay, and then you can just purge now. Now, the other thing that you can do is purge all data older than, okay? So you can set a date, okay, and purge all data older than that, okay? So that's how you can, the two ways of doing on-demand data purging, okay? But as you guys noticed, there's a second option down here. Set up auto purge, okay? You're gonna enable this. You're gonna select the products. You're gonna set the date range. You've got all the same explanations here, okay? Since I'm suddenly not able to talk, let me take a sip of coffee here. Okay, so now you can set it, and this will, every 30 days, will purge the data older than 30 days, okay? So if you're someone that is subject to GDPR rules, and I want to be super clear, guys, if you're not familiar with GDPR rules, it's not simply businesses that are operating within the European Union, it's also businesses anywhere that are doing business with people in the European Union. Okay, so it is one of those legislations that extends well beyond their borders. So if a company like Keystroke, which does a lot of business in the UK, then you know this is something that we have to consider. So it's not just for people that are domiciled within the European region territory, but also people doing business there. Okay. Now, as I said, for people that are new to this kind of information, please take a look at it. If you don't live in or work in the UK or within the European Union and you never do business on that side of the pond, this isn't going to be something that concerns you, okay? But considering that the UK is the second biggest ACT market in the world, okay? First is the United States, second is the UK, third is Canada, fourth is Australia. Like, this is something that, you know, I think people need to be aware of, because it's a very, very big, mature market, okay, for ACT. So let me just pause a moment and see if there's any questions. Okay, great. So that pretty much covers that. The only other thing that with Linktivity that I wanted to mention is that most of us are ACT resellers. We know that ACT users can sometimes be a little cheap, and they're going to try to misuse the program in ways that, you know, are not intended. So there are certain things that I want to kind of explain about all of these different options. Some of them are account-based products. Some of them are user-based products. Things like Link to Calendar and Link to Quotes are meant to be subscribed to individually by each user, not as a team, okay? Things like Link to Events, Link to Forms, Link to List, Link to Shrink, and even Link to Surveys, we fully anticipate that there may be just one user that's managing that program on behalf of others. It's designed that way. We don't anticipate that there's going to be a whole lot of use cases for it. Internally, there is. Like for us, we have Sylvia that manages a lot of the either the French events, or she'll want to scan the French groups, things like that. And for her, of course, we're going to provide a separate subscription. But in most cases, in unilingual companies, there is not a similar use case for that. So we fully expect people to subscribe to Link to Events, and they may pass out their logins, okay, to other people, or there'll be one person that provides all of it. Okay, that does all of that, the setup for the events, the forms, surveys, so on and so forth. However, Link to Calendar and Link to Quotes is not designed for that, okay? If you are a user of Link to Calendar and Link to Quotes, you are not going to do it on behalf of anyone else. It's not designed for that. Each and every single person is supposed to use it. So if we have people trying to, you know, skirt the licensing, just like they do with ACT, trying to hotel licensing and have someone, you know, everyone log in as admin or front desk or something, or secretary, okay, that's circumventing the licensing. So what we're going to be doing is introducing a maximum of 3 concurrent logins on any of these programs, okay, and that will be introduced next week. I expect it to probably be in production by Monday, but that's something that I wanted to kind of let everyone know, because that previously hasn't been an issue, okay? So any questions on that? You guys are going easy on me. Okay, so let's look at Jilly Bear here. Okay, so Jilly Bear is a contact in our database, and I'm going to add a shortcut from my computer here in her Documents tab. Okay, so I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to click on Shortcut to a File, and we're going to put in APU. Okay, this is an inside joke, but come on, APU. There he is. Okay, so I've added him in. You can see it's a link now. Okay, now let's pull up. Where is this? Downloads. And I'm going to pull up the ACT provisioning tool right over here. Okay, I'm going to analyze the data, and this is actually pointing to this database. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to show you a new feature. Now, this was something, you know, when it was presented to me, my first reaction was, how did I not think of this before? Because this seems like a fairly common use case. But imagine if you have a ACT user out there that's super keen to go to ACT Premium Cloud, but he has a lot of shortcuts pointing to his network, okay? Shortcuts to attachments. And he wants to bring them all into the database before uploading his database to the cloud. If you think about it, if they are going all web, all of the shortcuts to the network resources, or the UNCs, are going to all become dead links on the cloud. So we've got to have a way of bringing those shortcuts back in. So what we've done, okay, we've added some features to this, and I'll just quickly go through all of them with you here, but you can see here that this has calculated the total size of the database, the breakdowns. It's identified 25 orphan detachments, which is great. I'll show you how we'll clean that out. It's identified the orphan size, which is pretty small. It's the file count, the total size of the database. As you can see, we've got a fairly big ADF here, so that's taking up a fairly big percentage of it. The first 6 gigabytes is free, and by the way, if ACT is going to change how they charge for storage, whether they increase the free allotment or they change the increments, then we've set it up so that we can just simply make changes to this utility and it will employ the new math. Okay, so if I was to go to here, I can see the breakdown of all the different sections of the database along with their respective sizes. Okay, now if I go to tools, I showed you last week the convert to SSO. This is a production database, so I'm not going to be doing that. However, I don't really care about the orphan detachments because they are orphaned. So initially we distributed an option to delete files that are orphaned, but we found that a lot of customers get really nervous about that. So what we did is we created a remove. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here, scroll down, and let me just see here. Let me put it in the backup file here. Come on. Okay, hold on. I am going to say backup, and we're going to say orphans. Okay, let me just actually create a new folder. Orphans. Okay, and now I'm going to say remove orphan detachments. Backup. Well, I don't really care about this, so I'm going to be removing them. And if something comes out that I'm concerned with, then I can always put it back. So now it's providing me a breakdown. There's 25. I can go through all of these things. I could see some templates, so on and so forth. Okay, so those are all done. I can see PDFs. All of those are done. Now, the case that we added this week is the convert shortcuts. So I've just added a shortcut here, okay, and I'm going to say convert shortcut, no backup. Now, keep in mind that I'm running on an RDB. I'm not running on the master database. So if there's someone else that's on another RDB, they may have a shortcut that I don't have access to, okay? It goes without saying that if you don't have access to it, then this particular utility won't work on those files or those shortcuts. Okay, so now you can see here, true to word, you can see users, Sylvia, Wu, documents. I am not Sylvia, so she's added a document file here that's local to hers, so I can't convert that. However, okay, it has converted one file. Okay, so there was one file, one error, and okay, now that link is now a JPEG. Okay, so that is being pulled into the database. Here, it's no longer a link and it's being pulled into the database. So now, if there was like hundreds of these, we would be ready to do a backup and upload to the to ACT Premium Cloud. Any questions at this point?
Well, that increases the size of the database, so you'll have to rerun the utility again to see what the size is.
Yeah, but the customers are going to want to have the database. So actually, that does bring up a good point. At any point, you can run the analyze and determine what your costs are. So absolutely, you're going to run an analyze data before you do the final backup. Okay, we are obviously hoping that by removing the orphaned attachments, you're getting rid of stuff that has no database value, and running the convert links to attachments will offset those savings a little bit. But more importantly, you're getting rid of stuff you can't use and including stuff you can. Okay, and then what we've done here is we've got attachments for ACT that allows you to take the space savings to a whole new level. I'm not going to cover that. We've covered that in previous demos, but I did want to show one other thing that we added. And that is, if you go into here, most of us are ACT consultants, so we're aware, database maintenance, and we say remove all data. You've got the options to remove notes, which unless there's attachments, there's not going to be a whole lot of space saved. Remove histories, people are pretty concerned about that. Remove cleared activities, this is always a good idea, okay, because cleared activities are not histories. Document tab entries older than and campaign results. What you don't see is opportunities. And in a lot of databases, you can end up with opportunities that, they're quite substantial. Okay, so what you can do now is say remove all data, and you can actually select activities, histories, notes, or opportunities. And let's say opportunities, and then let's say analyze. Okay, and it breaks it down per year. So look, in this 2019, over almost 2,300 opportunities. 2020, 1,291. Okay, so on and so forth. So they're all breaking down, and now you can sit there and say, okay, I want to remove those. I can remove them either by days, okay, or remove them from a date range. Okay, so you set the date range, maybe 2019 to 2020, whichever, and it will, and they say remove by year. Okay, now what it will also do, as we all know, as users of Link to Quotes, QuoteWorks, and other things like that, there's a lot of attachments associated with opportunities, and it will, if you don't use this utility, it can leave some orphaned attachments. If you do use this utility, it will go back in and clear them all out to make sure that you're not only clearing out the items from the opportunity table, but also any associated attachments. Any questions on that? Okay, so you can analyze everything. Let's take a look at histories. Histories is obviously where the meat is. Okay, so may not have been smart to say analyze history because I think we've got a few. Okay, but you can go back here and say, okay, I probably don't need all this information from, maybe back in 2019. Okay, certainly not in 2016, 2017, whichever. Everyone's got their own compliance considerations, and they're going to have their own compliance rules. I don't have any hard, fast guidelines for that, other than say, guys, here's the tools. You can pair it out however you wish. Okay, Shannon, can we add the campaign results to the entity to analyze to clear? I have no problem with that. That's built within ACT, so we can certainly do that. But this, I certainly don't mind adding that in because I think that's fairly straightforward. Okay. Any questions?
Ken?
Yes.
I just had a question, both on histories and opportunities, as to whether it would be possible to have like the status, opportunity status, and only remove certain kinds of opportunities, or with histories, the same thing.
It's funny you say that. I actually reviewed this from several different angles with opportunities. If you hook them by estimated close date, because there's actually several dates that are applicable. There's create date, there's close date, there's so on and so forth, actual close date and estimated close date. If you hook it by estimated close date, that actually tends to be a fairly reliable way of determining, what is old and useless and what is possibly current. So like for instance, any opportunities with an estimated close date of, more than 52 weeks ago, probably not going to revive. Okay. If they're open or closed, especially when you're talking not just 1 year, but 5 years, any opportunities that have an estimated close date that are several years old, I think we could probably all agree the status is less important. Okay. But what I'm talking about is the clearing out the data that is, 5 years or old or more. Okay, if you want to go in and clear by status, you can do that within ACT. It's a little tedious. I find it's a little slower than I would expect, but this is really for a fairly clean purging, and anything that has an estimated close date of that old generally is not of useful statistical value. Okay, I'm not saying it's of none, and I'm not saying that there's a general rule that applies to all of them, but I would say as a general rule, and we're obviously, everyone here knows we do a lot of quoting, we do a lot of sales. I'm really not super keen on anything that is, it's 2024. Anything that's going back to 2017 really isn't of consequential value to me. Okay, I'm not going to be doing any reporting on that, and I'll let people decide what's the appropriate range for them. But remember that when we are using this utility, it is not purging the archived version of the database. This is the version that is going into production on ACT Premium Cloud. Because we prompt them to back up over and over and over again, they're going to have a reference copy, and they should have a reference copy that they can keep on their network. But the production copy, they're looking to have, lean and mean and really only containing relevant data. Does that make sense?
It does. I agree with you on that. From your explanation, what about histories and removing certain types of histories with a date range?
So, and that's a good question. I want to be super clear. We have other tools like nuke entities that allows you to more precisely cherry pick certain types of histories and certain types of entities to remove. This isn't meant to be, every tool in one. This is meant to be a provisioning tool. And if people want to clean out the data with a sharper knife, then we've got tools for that. But this is meant to create date ranges for purging, but not not filtered. Okay, so I would just say, if you're dealing with customers on that, ask them to spend $50 on nuke entities and go in and clear out, say, maybe some old Swift page marketing histories or ACT marketing histories, which there's probably a ton of, or go in and remove all the system generated histories. Okay, that is available within this is not meant to be a Swiss Army knife that does everything.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I wanted to, the last thing I was going to just show you guys, and let me just close this, exit this. Let's bring over this. Okay, so today is the day that KCM, or Keystroke Contact Manager, is going into external beta. We've been extensively beta testing this internally, okay, ad nauseum, some might even say. Okay, here is the home screen. Here is showing the total amount of contacts, the tasks, the opportunities. Okay, and there's no filters on this, so this is showing all the opportunities. And then you've got the sync now, and here's the breakdown of today's activities and opportunities. If you click down on here on About, and by the way, if you signed up for the beta testing, then you're going to get the download link today. You're going to get you'll be able to run the whole thing in trial mode, and you're also going to get a list of known issues that you don't have to report. Okay, but what you're going to find is that we're updating this fairly regularly, and you'll be able to click on About, Okay, now I'd updated this just before this this demo, so there isn't a button up here, but I can tell you with Jason cranking out 3-4 builds a day, most times when I click here, it's going to report that there is an available version. You just click on this, it downloads it. There'll be a little browser message saying keep or remove because it's an unknown file type. You're going to click on keep, and then it will update the program, close it in the process, and then relaunch it, okay? So one of the things that I wanted to kind of show you guys, okay, is if you wanted to, let's say here, group by country, you can drag this and this will automatically group by countries, okay? This is showing all the blanks, okay, which obviously I didn't factor for, so that was a bad choice. Okay, but if you want to group by city, you can drag and drop that. If you wanted to apply any filters, okay, all of those are available. Okay, so you've got different options is equal to all the standard operators that you would expect. This is something that a lot of people would love to have in ACT. If I go into a particular contact, okay, now like handheld contact, this is all in read-only mode, okay? When you're going through handheld contact, you're not gonna be able to change field data without clicking on edit, okay? Which is obviously very different from ACT, so be mindful of that. You can have action items like dial or email that will automatically trigger, so you'll see these things highlighted, okay? If you wanna edit the layout, okay, to make it a little bit friendlier, okay, you can do that. This shows all the available fields and you can just, you know, add a category here, drop it over here or here, and then drag and drop the fields in there, okay? So if I click on, you know, add a category, and I'm gonna say, let's say home, okay, and let's say I want to drag that. Actually, no, that's not. Yeah, so I can have that there, and then I can add additional fields down here. Okay, no, actually I have to add, what is this? I should have had Craig do this. He's done this a lot more than I have. Okay, but there's a way of adding in, let me just see here. No, no. Okay, I know you can add them in here. Okay, there should be a way of adding that. Sorry guys, I didn't test this before doing it, so I don't quite know how to add a little window here to drop fields into, but play around with it, it should be fairly self-evident, okay? I'm gonna discard that, not save it. But the nice thing is that this is all being designed so that it can work on any kind of form factor. It'll be mobile responsive. Play around with it. This is an evolving product, okay? But if you wanted to edit the data, here's where you can see it in edit view, okay? And let's go to here. You've got the same toolbars going across the top that you're used to. You've got the same tabs that you're used to. Now, what you may find is that when you click on something like histories or tasks or notes, you're going to see a little spinny, and that's because it's doing an on-demand download. This is not like ACT. It's not going to, you know, send all of the data all at once, so everything is offline. This is going to be something that will be on demand. So if you click on something like this, it's loading tasks. If it doesn't find anything, it's not going to display anything. Notes as well. Okay, kind of like what you're familiar with handheld contact API, okay? And then the same thing with opportunities. So it will provide the information on demand. Sylvia is asking, is it available for French customers? Our customers, any customers, and we will be translating this, we just have to get through the beta process. Any customers of ours that are French and have Orange Care are eligible to get this. We do not charge for it, but as I mentioned last week, just to, you know, keep our own sanity, we don't want to give something away and then have to provide free support to follow that. So we're only making it eligible to people with Orange Care. Okay, we're going to set up different rules for different regions. I'm going to be meeting on Monday with with Will from the UK, with Josh from Australia, and Peter from the Netherlands to talk about how we're going to distribute it. Obviously, we'll work with them. They can distribute it in their market, and that's not going to incur any support obligations on our part because we obviously won't be supporting their customers. But for the North American market right now, it's going to be limited to Orange Care. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you here. Let's say we go to opportunities. Okay. Boom. Wouldn't be a demo if I didn't have one crash. Okay, so let's go back here. It's like Vic is not even on vacation. Okay. So Kat, remind me to get my logs over to Jason. So let's go to opportunities again. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show you that's really useful for opportunities is you can drag column headers around. Okay, move them around. You can customize your columns as you see fit. Okay, and what's really useful within the opportunity section is that the column filters, okay, you can actually set, like, let's say is greater than or greater than and equal to 1,000. Okay, then filter, and it's going to show you only those that are more than 1,000. So you've got, you know, live column filtering that is also useful. So if I wanted to then group by process, I can just boom, and now I can see all my support quotes, and I can see all my my ACT product sales cycle. Okay, any questions on what they've seen? Groovy. I didn't want to do a deep dive on this other than just kind of show you some of the things that I missed last week. I don't want to punish people for attending every single week so that they can see the same thing again and again, but I think that this was kind of a nice top up, and it was a nice review just before the start of the external beta. Okay.
Excuse me, Ken.
Yes.
Bronwyn.
Hello.
Can I ask, how do you access this? Is it accessed via a web URL, or how do you physically get to it?
You've signed up, so you'll get a download link today. Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
Now, when I say a download link today, you're in Australia, so I think it's next Thursday for you, but you know, whatever. Okay.
Okay,
I never fully understand the time difference between, you know, somehow you're in the future and I don't get it. Anything else?
Thank you. No, that's it. Looks great. Can't wait.
Okay. So you can look forward to that today. I know it's the wee hours for you, but I would say because it's 1:38 now, Kat will probably be distributing it before 5 o'clock local time. Okay.
Awesome.
Karen, I will, if you missed the sign up, I sent it out earlier, but you've got access to Slack. If you can just directly Slack Kat to get yourself signed up. Anyone that's on our team that wants to participate in this as well, especially KPPs, just Slack Kat directly and she will get you signed up. Okay. Now, let me just wrap up with this to say, why are we building this? Okay. Well, we knew that back last year, okay, when there wasn't a plan to create custom quantities of desktop sync, that there was a lot of people that had, you know, web only, okay, and those web only people were somewhat chagrined in that they didn't have any offline capability. They had to log in, and they were limited to the functionality of the web. And let's be honest, the feature gap between web and Windows is fairly significant. And, you know, the time it takes to close all of that, which isn't meant to be critical at all, it's just a big undertaking, is going to take a while. Okay. So this allowed us, with our handheld contact experience, plus our objective to build it with the Maui code base so that we can have one code base for all three platforms. It allowed us to build something that would serve our customers and provide a better overall experience. Plus, it allowed us to build in easier data management, okay, for our customers. So what does that mean? Well, one of the new features, if anyone's tried to do importing with Act Premium Cloud, they have experienced some frustration. So one of the things that we're going to be doing shortly after beta is looking at building in some importing functionality so that people that have access to Keystroke Contact Manager can import their data into here, okay, through a flat file or through an assortment of flat files, whichever, and then sync the information directly to Act Premium Cloud. And there's going to be all kinds of functionality like that. We're just in the very, very early days that allow us to kind of circumvent, you know, like one of the big gaps right now with Act Premium Cloud is batch functions. So selecting a bunch of activities and clearing them, selecting a bunch of contacts and deleting them, scheduling a bunch of anything, okay? That isn't available in Act Premium Cloud. It's all kind of one by one. So we're going to build in some of the batch functionality within the Keystroke Contact Manager that isn't available within Act Premium Cloud, so they can do it offline with our utility sync and essentially get the same results. That make sense? So what I'd suggest is if you guys are if you're on the beta list or you are part of our team with access to the Slack network, definitely provide feedback directly to Kat in terms of ideas, okay, feature requests, things like that. Otherwise, if you're participating in the beta, definitely go through the bug tracking process, because that's how we manage all the bugs. Okay, that's it. It's Friday afternoon. Let everyone get back to their day. For those of you with a 3-day weekend ahead, please enjoy, both in Ontario and the United States. I wish you all a great long weekend, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. Take care.